What's good, family? You know those red flags everybody keep posting on social media right now? Well, we're gonna talk about the red flags that you can identify early on before renting to your next tenant. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. What's up, my people, and welcome back to another video. I'm Blake, for those of you who don't know me. Today we're gonna break down something interesting. So as I've gone through the rental process a few times, I have noticed a pattern, and I think this pattern will save you a ton of money and avoid you from having a ton of headaches with having to go through eviction, having to just deal with people who have poor communication. So let's go with the first one. So the first one, when you're dealing with someone who could potentially be a nightmare at your home, because remember, depending on what state you're in, you may not be able to evict them quickly, and it's still a process. So it's not like if you want them out, they're gonna be able to leave the next day. Just not how it works. So the first mistake, and I'll dodge the bullet with this one, is when they sign the lease, that they need to give you the first month's rent and a deposit. And the deposit should be at least 1.5 times what the rent is, because the deposit shouldn't be equivalent to what the rent is for this reason. Well, a lot of times the damages is going to exceed what the rent is. So just imagine you having to recoup something that they don't even want to pay for in the first place, on the back end, right? So that's why it should be at least 1.5 times, because prices are going to always go up. And if the property if they didn't do any damage, cool, just give it right back to them. But it's better to have more than to have to ask for more on the end. So that's the first thing. I dodged the bullet because this dude, he signed the lease. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get it to you the next day." And then so the next day came, he didn't say anything, and I went out about to chase him. So then the following day came, he's like, "I'm gonna pay you half, and then I'll pay you half the next day." I said, "Man, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Like, cause you struggling to pay the first month's rent, dog. Like, could you imagine if this was a year, how much I would have to go behind and try to recoup the money? It's just, I'd rather it be vacant than have a bad tenant. That's just me." The second one is when you have a tenant or potential tenant who comes in and tries to negotiate the rent, right? So you factor the rent in based on whatever market analysis you're doing or whatever you think it should be worth. But people are gonna still try to negotiate. So if they negotiate rent, just imagine once they get in your house, they're gonna be trying to negotiate other things. And it's just not a good way to start off, especially because I'm the negotiation king, don't get me wrong. But when they're trying to negotiate the rent, when that's something that's so firm, I don't think that that's a good sign. Unless they're trying to negotiate because they want to pay you more money up front. Because I've done that before. Like, I paid 6 months ahead. Well, I'd be like, "Yo, could you give me a break on that if I'm paying you 6 months in advance," right? But if they're trying to negotiate and bring the price down and they're not giving you anything, because it's like, what's in it for you to lower the price? Nothing. So don't lower your prices. Never lower your prices. The next one is, if they ask you to bend the rules on your house rules, so like, I'm a big stickler for no smoking, right? And when I say no smoking, I mean no smoking inside, no smoking outside. You have to do it somewhere off the premises, right? But people who try to be like, "Well, man, can I just smoke in my car? Can I smoke over here?" And my question always is, well, if you smoke in your car, what's the chances that it'll travel with you to the property once you walk from your car to the property? Okay, so no smoking, but that's just me. Like I said, don't negotiate the house rules because you're only gonna hurt yourself. Remember, the ball's in your court. You're the landlord. You lay out how you want this to be. So you always remember that. Don't ever settle. Don't ever take something because you need the money, because you'll end up costing you more in the long run. Trust me. The fourth thing is if their actions don't match their words. So for instance, if they say, "Oh, I'm gonna have an application in this day," and they don't do it. And if they say, "Hey, I'm gonna have deposit to you this day," and they don't do it, just keep a mental note of like what they say versus what they do. And if it doesn't match up from your first few times interacting with them, whether it's via text or whether you're on the phone with them, it's a red flag. Stay away. And the last one, you might laugh at this, but this is like, man, I dodged a bullet with this one too. Stay away from people who want to move in tomorrow. I know you might get excited because you're gonna get that bread, you're gonna get a deposit, but stay away from people who say, "I want to move in tomorrow," because they're running away from something or they're running to something. But a lot of times they're running away from some crazy drama that you don't want to be a part of. And obviously there's exceptions to the rule, right? So let me preface it with saying that. But yo, there are people who are gonna just try to move in tomorrow and they're gonna just fuck up your whole situation, and it's just not worth the bread. I'm just telling you, it's not worth the bread. Send them through your process. I have a vetting process where they have to spend money to submit an application, because if you're not willing to spend $50 to submit an application, then you're not gonna be willing to pay the rent on time. It's a weed out process. You might get hundreds of people inquire, but only a few gonna get through because they're not serious, and that's your way to avoid all that. So just trust me. Don't rent to people that say they want to rent tomorrow, especially if they aren't okay with going through your rental process of filling out the application, getting eviction records, or not eviction records, but eviction check, background check, credit check. If they're not willing to do that, let them walk. So those are the 5 things to avoid a tenant nightmare. But what I want you to do is subscribe if you haven't already, and comment below which one was the most helpful for you, so I kind of get a gauge on where I'm at and which ones were like most eye-opening. Because man, I'm gonna keep giving y'all game on the marketing and also on the real estate as I'm starting to learn more, especially with the real estate. But stay tuned for the next video. Peace.